Hey, Motorman here, and I've got a tip for you. Now, I guess 2 months or so, or 3 months back, I did an entire video on push or counter steering. So I'm calling this video more on counter steering, or push steering as I like to call it. So it's not for morons, though I got a lot of replies from some people. Yeah, you could be a moron if you don't believe this. This is actually physics. But here's how it works. So we're gonna do this even simpler, or even more simpler than last time. Quickly, this is how it works. At speeds above about 15 miles an hour, if I want this motorcycle to turn, I must push forward on one of the grips. That's because the motorcycle is a gyroscope. It wants to keep going straight. In order to make it turn, we have to force it out of that straight line. So if I want to make a left turn, I'm going to push forward on the left grip. The motorcycle will lean left and go left. If I want to make a right turn or a right bend, I push forward on the right grip, the bike leans right and goes right. It can't be more simple than that. Now, I do realize that when you're doing that for a split second, if I push forward on this left grip, the handlebars will actually turn, or the front wheel will actually turn slightly to the right, but it's for a split second, and then the bike will start to lean. Pushing down on the bars does nothing. You could put all the weight you want on these bars as you're moving along, it's not going to turn. Also, and I heard this, some people say, well, what about pulling and pushing? Yeah, if you want to complicate it, you could say that. So if I was going to steer with one hand, yeah, I could push and pull, but you should always keep both hands on the grips. So to go left, I push forward on the left grip, the bike leans left and goes left. Push forward on the right grip, the bike is going to lean right and go right. Now, I'm going to link a video below, and I'm going to show you a little clip from this from Keith Code. He's a racer and an instructor for many years, and he explains this possibly even more simple than I do, because he actually takes a motorcycle and he welds the front of it so the handlebars will not turn. And then he tells riders to get on the bike and let me see you make this motorcycle turn using body English or by pressing down on the bars. It doesn't work. I'm going to put another link on here where a guy is counter steering just fine, coming around a winding road, and then what happens, he gets a little bit wide, there's a fire truck coming at him, and he does what most people have their instincts to do in an emergency situation if they usually drive a car. He tries to steer away from the fire truck. Well, that causes him to do a head-on collision with the fire truck. So I'll show that clip, and I'll put a link to that video as well. But come on, we'll take a ride. I also want to mention, this is my 2021 Street Bob 114 with ABS. It is still for sale. Asking price is $16,800. I'm going to put a link to the video I did giving all the information about this motorcycle as well. So now let's go for that ride. So to be perfectly clear about this, right now I'm going about 45 miles an hour. I'm going to point this camera down. I push forward on the left grip, the bike leans left and goes left. Now I'm really close to this white line, the dotted line, so I'm going to push on the right grip. Push forward. I can push down all I want. It doesn't do a thing. So if you think that pushing down on the bars, pushing down makes the bike turn, you are in serious deep trouble, or you're kidding yourself. If you think that leaning off one side of the bike makes it turn, again, you'd be wrong. It's not going to help you.
Listen, kid, steering is simple. You just push down the inside peg, pull the bike in with your knee, push the handlebars down, and lean your body in.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
It was false and misleading advice like that led me to invent the No BS or No Body Steering bike. Let's see if it will help us sort out the facts of steering.
I've grafted an extra set of bars on this bike. The whole idea was to take the handlebars out of the equation to discover what so-called body steering really does. The extra throttle on the top bars allows the rider to maintain his speed.
Even with massive shifts in body weight without any input through the handlebars, the bike only vaguely changes direction. This would never get you through the corkscrew at Laguna Seca. Foot peg weighting is another myth. Even with his entire body weight on one peg, this bike merely veers off course, and once his course is set, the pressure has even less effect. Good advice doesn't always put the rider in real control and can prevent us from properly being able to do this. A little counter steering with bar pressure gets the job done and puts the rider in control.
And I heard some people say in the comment section, they said everybody should know how could you ride a bike without knowing how to do this? And in a way, they're correct. If you've ever turned at any speed above about 15 miles an hour, if you ever rounded a bend or made it through a winding road without running off the road, yes, you've counter-steered. It is instinctual. When is it not instinctual? Well, in an emergency situation. If, for instance, I'm going to slow down so this vehicle can catch up to me. If this vehicle started to come into my lane, my instincts from driving a car would say to turn the wheel this way. If you do that, you are going to go right into that vehicle. There is no question about it, and I've seen it happen. In fact, in that video with the guy is doing just fine, he's counter steering, coming around looks like a mountain road, and then he's drifting over the middle a little bit. He sees the fire truck coming, and he does exactly that. He tries to turn the handlebars like you would a car away from the thing he doesn't want to hit. And of course, and of course it drives them right into it, head-on collision. So these tips that I'm giving you, you know, there's a lot of experts on YouTube, and a lot of you think you know what you're talking about, but it is true that counter steering or push steering, I like to call it push steering because that's what you're actually doing. The counterpart just confuses people, but everybody does it. There's no way around it, but you should understand, simply for the purpose of an emergency situation, what never to do. Never try to turn your handlebars away from the vehicles crossing this way, coming across that island right towards me, and I try to turn away from it like you would your steering wheel on your car. It is going to push you right into it every time. It really is simply physics. And if you think you're good at counter steering, here's a very easy, simple way to figure it out. And this, of course, won't even be, you don't want to do this if it's not an emergency situation. It's a simple counter steering exercise. Get yourself 5 or 6 markers of any type, cones. Go to an empty parking lot or a deserted road. Set those cones up at 30 feet apart. So 6 cones in a straight line, 30 feet apart. Get your speed up to 20 or 30 miles an hour, and try to weave through them without running them over. I guarantee it, the first couple of times you do it, you're going to hit some of those cones. And if you hit one, that means you've not counter steered correctly. Out on the street, the thing that you could hit may be a pothole, could be a dog running across the road, could be any number of things. So try this under controlled conditions. 6 cones, straight line, 30 feet apart, start at 20 miles an hour, and try to weave through them. Now I show you this exact exercise in my latest video, the Ride Like a Pro experience. We show you it from ground level, from the rider's point of view, and from the drone's point of view. And you can see exactly what's happening. I think I even had the rider who was demonstrating keep their hand up or open like this so that you can see that they're pushing forward. Doesn't mean you should do that on the street, but so that you fully understand what that does for you when you push those handlebars. Here I'm going to push right, and I go right. I push left, and the bike leans left and goes left. You better be able to understand this, folks. It could save your life. And the best way to make sure that you understand it is, of course, to practice it. under controlled conditions. Do it in a big parking lot, deserted road, any place you want. You could even use the dotted lines if you're on a deserted road. Get up about 20 miles an hour and weave through those dotted lines so that you're crossing it in the middle, the black part, not the white part. But on most cruisers, the need to countersteer occurs at about 15 miles an hour, and you really don't even notice when you're switching from handlebar steering to counter steering or push steering. It just happens naturally. But as I said, in that emergency situation, all of a sudden it's not so natural. Maybe if you never drove a car in your life and you went right from a bicycle, a two-wheel bicycle, not a tricycle, but a bicycle. If you went directly from a bicycle to a motorcycle, it might be your instincts to counter steer under emergency situations. But if you've driven a car and you get so used to turning that wheel, it doesn't work that way on a motorcycle. So that's it for now. Short and sweet. Till next time. By the way, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up.